Dr. Kael'thas stared at the containment feed, his 3 hearts hammering in discordant rhythm. Someone explained to me why our Apex Predator Weapons project is currently purring. The emergency xenobiology team crowded around the holographic display, mandibles clicking in distress. On screen, 12 hybrid cubs, each engineered from the galaxy's most lethal predator species, each having killed at least 4 handlers during initial testing, sat in a docile semicircle around a human female in a worn veterinary smock. "Sir, she just walked in," stammered junior researcher Vexia. Security protocols didn't stop her. She presented credentials for a routine wellness check. "A routine?" Kael'thas's voice cracked. "Those creatures have genetic sequences from species that hunted entire civilizations to extinction. They were designed to be unstoppable. And is she scratching behind their ears?" Charlotte Brown looked up at the camera cluster, squinting. "Hey, can someone tell me why these babies haven't been fed in 2 days? Their glucose levels are critically low." Commander Zelak slammed his primary appendage against the console. "Get her out of there, now! Those are Class 9 biological weapons, not—" "They're malnourished and stressed," Charlotte interrupted, somehow hearing him through the supposedly one-way audio system. "And frankly, whoever designed this enclosure clearly never considered basic animal welfare. No enrichment, harsh lighting, isolation protocols." She tisked, running her hand along the largest cub's flank. It leaned into her touch, a deep rumbling emanating from its chest. "No wonder they're aggressive. You've been torturing them." The largest cub, designation Apex 7, responsible for 3 scientist deaths last month, rolled onto its back. It's presenting its vulnerable underbelly," Azila whispered from the doorway, her datapad clattering to the floor. That's impossible. We removed all submissive behavioral genes. We removed them." "Sir, the cub's biometric readings." Vexia's voice shook as she brought up the data streams. "Cortisol levels dropping, oxytocin spiking. They're experiencing comfort, contentment. The aggression centers are completely dormant." Kael'thas felt his career, 30 years of apex predator research, crumbling. "Deploy the emergency extraction team. Get containment specialists." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Charlotte said conversationally, now examining a cub's teeth. "They're finally calm. You send in people in combat gear and they'll panic. Then you'll have 12 terrified predators instead of 12 patients who just needed someone to give a damn." "She's not wrong," Azila said quietly. "Look at their posture. They're guarding her. If we breach the enclosure—" The cub growled, low, warning. Charlotte glanced at it, just looked at it. The growl stopped immediately, replaced by an almost apologetic whine. "What kind of technology is she using?" Zilax demanded. "Pheromone manipulation? Psychic dampening? Neural overrides?" Charlotte laughed. "Technology. I brought a stethoscope and some treats. These aren't weapons. They're babies. Scared, lonely babies that you turned into monsters because you didn't know how to just be kind." The largest cub licked her hand. Kael'thas pulled up the creation files, his manipulators trembling as he scrolled through the genetic sequences. "Zilax, look at this. 12 apex predator species. Vordanian shadow hunters, pack killers that brought down starships, Krillex ambush predators, perfect camouflage, neurotoxic fangs, Thane berserkers, literally incapable of fear response." "I designed them myself," Zilax said, his voice flat with disbelief. "We maximized aggression genes, amplified predatory instincts, removed every social bonding capability. They were supposed to be living weapons, pure instinct, zero empathy, impossible to domesticate. On the screen, Charlotte had somehow produced a worn leather ball from her pocket. She tossed it gently. 3 cubs scrambled after it, playfully tumbling over each other. They're playing, Vexia whispered. We removed the play instinct. Xilax slammed his appendages against the table. It's not in their genetic code anymore. We deleted it. What is she doing? Charlotte caught the ball as a cub brought it back, dropping it at her feet with what could only be described as pride. Good boy. Yes, you are. Who's a good, terrifying apex predator? You are. Sir, incoming transmission from High Council, a technician announced. They're demanding a full briefing. Military Command is requesting authorization to terminate the project. Terminate. Charlotte's head snapped toward the camera. You are not killing these animals because you don't understand them. She can hear our secured communications. Kael'thas felt his world tilting. That channel is encrypted with... I don't need encryption to know what terminate the project means, Charlotte shot back. She stood, and all 12 cubs immediately moved to flank her, forming a protective formation. You created living beings, tortured them into becoming monsters, and now you want to murder them because one human showed them basic decency? The protective formation. Kael'thas pulled up the behavioral files. Cooperative defense patterns. We specifically engineered them to be solitary, incapable of pack bonding. It's why they killed each other during early trials. They shouldn't be able to coordinate. They shouldn't even tolerate each other's presence. Azila entered the observation room, followed by 2 more senior behaviorists. I've reviewed the last 6 hours of footage. She walked in, they growled. She looked at them, just looked, and they submitted. No dominance displays, no violence, no conditioning protocol. She spoke softly, offered food, and they what? Xilax demanded. They chose her, Azila said simply. Every handler we sent in tried to dominate them through force. Pain compliance, punishment conditioning. She just asked them to trust her. On screen, Charlotte was now sitting cross-legged, 2 cubs draped across her lap, the others arranged around her in a loose circle. She was humming something, a human melody, while checking each cub's paws for injuries. The medical scans, Vexia said, bringing up new data. Their stress hormones are at baseline. Serotonin and dopamine levels are elevated. They're experiencing positive emotional states, states we ensured they couldn't experience. This is a disaster, Kael'thas muttered. If the Council finds out, a random human veterinarian can override decades of genetic engineering with kindness. Too late, a new voice announced. Council Overseer Jataro materialized via hologram, his expression grim. We've been monitoring. Emergency session convenes in 1 standard hour. You will explain how our multi-billion credit weapons project has been completely neutralized by... He consulted his datapad. A civilian animal doctor from Earth who apparently specializes in difficult cases. Charlotte waved at the hologram. Hi there. Listen, I'm going to need proper food for these guys, clean water, some toys, and you really should consider redesigning this enclosure. The echo alone is probably giving them sensory overload. A cub headbutted her hand. She absently scratched under its chin. It made a sound disturbingly close to a purr. She's domesticated them, Azila breathed. In 6 hours, she's done what we said was genetically impossible. Not domesticated, Charlotte corrected, somehow still hearing them. I'm just treating them like living things instead of weapons. There's a difference. Apex 7, the one that had disemboweled its last 3 handlers, was now asleep with its head in her lap. Azila had traveled 3 star systems to reach the facility, her credentials preceding her. Master behaviorist, architect of the Dominion's predator control protocols, author of Aggression Maximization in Apex Species. She'd spent 40 years perfecting the science of weaponizing predators. She lasted 10 minutes watching Charlotte before her datapad slipped from her trembling grasp. "Explain to me," she said, her voice barely audible, "how your pain-reward conditioning cycles failed." Kael'thas pulled up the training protocols. Electric stimulus at 30-second intervals, aggression reinforcement through hunger cycles, isolation to prevent pack bonding, sensory deprivation alternating with overload. Everything designed to create pure, unfocused rage. "I see the problem," Charlotte said from inside the enclosure, not looking up from where she was gently massaging a cub's shoulders. "You traumatize them, repeatedly, systematically." "That was the point." Azila's composure cracked. "Trauma creates aggression. Aggression creates weapons. This is established science." "It's established cruelty," Charlotte corrected. She made a soft clicking sound with her tongue. All 12 cubs' ears perked up simultaneously. "You took babies. Because that's what they are. They can't be more than 6 months old, and you tortured them. Then you acted surprised when they lashed out." Vexia brought up the real-time biometric scans. "Master Azila, look at this. The cubs' amygdalae, their fear aggression centers, they're completely dormant. Not suppressed, dormant, as if they've never been activated." "Impossible." Azila moved closer to the display. "We mapped their neural patterns. Hyper-responsive threat detection, hair-trigger aggression response, zero calming mechanisms. It's in their DNA." "DNA isn't destiny," Charlotte said. She was now playing what appeared to be a gentle tug-of-war with Apex 7, letting it win. The massive predator pranced away with its prize, tail wagging. "You can have all the aggressive genes in the world. But if someone shows you safety, love, consistency..." "We removed the capacity for trust," Zilax shouted. "We deleted the genetic sequences for social bonding. Those cubs shouldn't be capable of forming attachments." Charlotte paused, looked directly at the observation window. "You can't delete the need to be cared for. It's not just genetic, it's fundamental. Every living thing seeks safety. Every baby needs comfort. You tried to code it out, but you just buried it under trauma." She turned back to the cubs, speaking softly. "Okay, babies, settle down now. Rest time." 12 apex predators immediately found spots around her and lay down. She gave a verbal command. Kael'thas said numbly. No conditioning, no reinforcement. They just obeyed. "I didn't command them," Charlotte sighed. "I suggested it. There's a difference. You've been trying to control them. I'm just communicating with them." Azila pulled up her life's work. Decades of research, hundreds of papers, the foundation of galactic predator management theory. All of it based on one principle. Sufficient conditioning can override any instinct. Charlotte was proving her entire career wrong with patience and scratches behind the ears. "The instinct overrides systems," Azila said weakly. "We installed neural regulators, biochemical suppressors. They should be forcing aggression regardless of external stimuli." "They're still there," Vexia confirmed, checking the cub's implant readings. "But they're inactive, not malfunctioning, just not engaging, as if the cubs don't need them." "Because they don't," Charlotte said. "They're not aggressive when they feel safe. You built all these systems to force them to be something they didn't want to be. I'm just letting them be what they actually are. And what's that? Jitaro's hologram demanded. What are our ultimate weapons, according to you? Charlotte looked at the cubs. Engineered killers, genetic nightmares, living weapons worth billions in research funding. She smiled. Scared kids who needed a hug. A cub yawned, showing rows of neurotoxic fangs. Then it curled up tighter against Charlotte's leg and fell asleep. The council demands to know your methodology, Jitaro said. What technology are you employing? What pheromone cocktail? What neural override? Charlotte blinked. I'm nice to them. I talk softly, I give them food, I don't hurt them, and I'm patient. That's not technology. That's just basic kindness. The observation room fell silent. Your entire weapons project, Azila said slowly, her worldview crumbling with each word, was defeated by compassion. Not defeated, Charlotte corrected gently. Healed. Kailthas sat heavily in his chair, staring at the genetic sequences that had consumed his career. This is impossible. We removed all social bonding genes, every single marker for attachment, loyalty, affection. We deleted them from their genome. It's not theoretical. We verified it. Multiple times. Charlotte had somehow convinced the security team to bring her a portable examination kit. She was now checking each cub's teeth, ears, and eyes, with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this thousands of times. You can't remove the need to be loved. It's not just in genes, it's in survival. Every social species evolved bonding because it kept them alive. You can suppress it, bury it, traumatize it into hiding, but you can't delete it. She's correct, Azila said quietly, her voice hollow. I've been reviewing the neural scans. The bonding centers, the ones we thought we'd eliminated, they're still there. Atrophied, dormant, but present, like vestigial structures. We assumed they were non-functional. They were non-functional, Vexia added, pulling up comparative scans. Until her. Look, 6 hours ago, these neural pathways were essentially dead tissue. Now they're firing like a healthy juvenile's. She didn't just activate them, she regenerated them. Charlotte glanced up. I didn't regenerate anything. They were always capable of this. You just never gave them a reason to trust before. You only gave them reasons to fear. Jitaro's hologram flickered with agitation. Are you suggesting our entire weapons development program was fundamentally flawed? Your entire weapons development program was fundamentally cruel, Charlotte said bluntly, running a gentle hand down Apex 7's spine. You took babies with the capacity for connection and systematically destroyed their ability to feel safe. Then you called them monsters when they acted exactly how traumatized creatures act. But the genetic modifications, Zilax protested weakly, made them stronger, faster, more dangerous, Charlotte agreed. But you know what you didn't modify? The part that wants comfort, the part that seeks safety, the part that desperately needs to know someone cares whether they live or die. She looked directly at the observation window. You can engineer a lot of things. You can't engineer away loneliness. Our cub, designation Apex 3, responsible for 2 handler deaths, was now belly up in Charlotte's lap, making soft chirping sounds as she rubbed its stomach. The military implications? Jitaro said slowly, his tone shifting from authoritarian to unsettled. If our deterrent theory is wrong, if apex predators can be neutralized through simple empathy, then maybe you should reconsider turning living things into weapons, Charlotte finished. She scratched behind Apex 3's ear. These aren't failed experiments. They're success stories. They survived your tortures and they're still capable of trust. That's not weakness. That's remarkable strength. Kael'thas felt 30 years of research collapsing into a single, unavoidable truth. They've imprinted on her. Completely. Look at the neurochemical bonds. They're as strong as parent-offspring attachments. Stronger, Azila corrected, her voice barely a whisper. They recognize her as safety, as home. You could condition that away with enough trauma, but... She looked at Charlotte, surrounded by 12 allegedly unstoppable killing machines, all completely devoted to her. Why would you? Jotaro was silent for a long moment. Then, the weapon project is officially terminated. The Cubs are now classified as... What would you call them, Dr. Brown? Charlotte smiled. How about patients in recovery? Fine, patients in recovery, under your supervision. Jotaro's hologram leaned forward. We're prepared to offer you a position as senior consultant. The pay would be... Ridiculous, Charlotte interrupted. If you want me to fix your other weapons projects, it'll cost you. And I want full authority over their care. No more pain conditioning, no more isolation, no more torture disguised as science. Agreed, Jotaro said immediately. Council will authorize whatever you need. Charlotte looked at the Cubs. Killers, weapons, monsters. Now just 12 scared kids finally learning what safety felt like. I'll need bigger toys, she said, and a proper outdoor enclosure. These babies need space to run. Apex 7 licked her hand. She smiled. 3 months later, Kael'thas watched as Apex 7, now officially renamed Murphy by Charlotte, gently guided a traumatized Zenthari researcher away from a panic attack. The massive predator, engineered to be an unstoppable killer, pressed against the researcher's side, providing warm, steady pressure until her breathing calmed. Service animals, he muttered, shaking his head. We created the galaxy's most dangerous predators, and she turned them into therapy companions. Not just therapy, Vexia corrected, bringing up the latest council protocols on her datapad. Medical alert, emotional support, search and rescue, they've qualified for 7 different service certifications. And look at this. Galactic Military Directive 7743, issued last week. All biological weapons programs must consult with human-animal behavior specialists before proceeding. She changed military policy. Charlotte emerged from the rehabilitation wing, 4 Cubs trotting at her heels, 3 more ranging ahead to check the corridor, a behavior she'd encouraged as healthy environmental awareness rather than predatory stalking. She'd been traveling between research facilities for 6 weeks now, and everywhere she went, failed weapons projects started behaving like pets. Morning, Kael'thas, she said cheerfully, stopping to let Murphy investigate an interesting scent on the floor. Ready for the briefing? About that, Kael'thas said carefully. He'd become her assistant after the second facility she'd visited, unable to resist watching his life's work be completely redefined. The new assignment. Charlotte, they want you to assess the Vextorian Hive project. Charlotte's expression didn't change. The unstoppable hive species? The one that consumed 3 research stations? Yes, that one. Do they like treats? Kael'thas blinked. What? Treats, snacks, positive reinforcement. Charlotte crouched down, offering Murphy a small cube of protein supplement. He took it delicately, careful not to catch her fingers with his neurotoxic fangs. Every species responds to something. We just need to figure out what the Vextorians value. They value consuming everything in their path, Zilak said, joining them. He'd been shadowing Charlotte's work too, documenting everything for the Council's new Ethical Biological Research Division. They're not social. They're a hive mind. There's no individual to bond with. Hive minds are social by definition, Charlotte countered, standing. They're just social in a way you don't understand yet. Give me the behavioral files and 3 weeks. A young researcher, fresh from the academy, mandibles clicking nervously, approached with a data pad. Dr. Brown, I'm assigned to your team for 3 cubs immediately positioned themselves between Charlotte and the newcomer, low growls rumbling. Charlotte didn't move. She just looked at them. One glance, no words, barely a change in expression. The growls stopped. The cubs sat. One, designated Apex 9, now called Biscuit, looked almost sheepish. Sorry about that, Charlotte said to the researcher. They're still learning that new people aren't threats. You can come closer. The researcher approached cautiously. Murphy sniffed her, then wagged his tail. A behavior Zillax had sworn was genetically impossible in a predator with his augmentations. How do you do that? The researcher asked, voice full of wonder. The look. They were ready to attack, and you just looked at them. Charlotte shrugged. I just see them as they are, not what someone wanted them to be. They're not weapons. They're not experiments. They're just kids trying to figure out the world. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they need reminders about manners. But they're trying. Jitaro's hologram materialized beside them. Dr. Brown, the Council has reviewed your methods across 7 facilities. 19 failed weapons projects are now functioning as working animals. The Krolix massacre beast is currently assisting in agricultural pest control. The Thane berserkers are teaching conflict de-escalation at the Diplomatic Academy. They're good at reading body language, Charlotte said. Makes sense they'd be good mediators. You've fundamentally altered our understanding of predator control, genetic determinism, and weapons development. Jitaro continued. The Council wanted me to ask, formally, how you do it. What's your secret? Charlotte looked down at the 12 cubs sprawled around her feet. Some dozing, some playing quietly. Murphy pressed against her leg like an oversized, genetically modified guard dog. Creatures designed to be unkillable monsters, now purring contentedly. There's no secret, she said simply. I just treat them with respect. I listen to what they're telling me through their behavior. I meet their needs before I ask them to meet mine. And I never, ever see them as what someone else wanted them to be. I see who they actually are. She pulled out her datapad, reviewing the Vexatorian files. Now, about this hive species. They consumed research stations because they were starving and saw energy sources. Has anyone tried just feeding them properly? Kael'thas looked at Zillax. Zillax looked at Vexia. None of them had an answer. I'll take that as a no, Charlotte said, scratching Murphy behind his ear. Okay, babies. Road trip. Let's go meet some hungry bugs. The cubs scrambled to their feet, tails wagging, ready to follow her anywhere. Behind them, the entire galaxy's approach to biological weapons lay in ruins. Destroyed not by force or superior technology, but by one veterinarian's unshakable belief that every living thing deserved kindness, Murphy barked. A happy, playful sound from a creature designed to know only rage. Charlotte smiled.